Minecraft is a game best played with friends. Finding new resources, exploring new caves, it's all so much better when you have someone to play with. But what if this time you and your friend are unknowingly test subjects, and the world you're playing in is nothing but a simulation? In my last video, I discovered a weird channel named The Decade, with at the time 10 videos uploaded, with the first few disguised as some sort of Minecraft bug, until weird figures start to pop up, strange things start to happen, and the game begins looping, with one of the two players named Sandy realizing he's stuck in a loop, becoming aware whilst his friend Cargo remains stuck, and forcing Sandy to break out of what he discovers to be an experimental simulation, rescuing Cargo and getting ready to escape. Which brings us to now, where right after uploading my video, 5 new videos gradually appeared, dragging me further down this rabbit hole and finding me right back in front of a video titled A Message to You. A message to me? This almost felt like whoever was uploading had seen my videos, with even the description reading, "Keep watching." And so just like with every other video on this mysterious channel, I hit play, with the video opening on a black screen. Okay, that's odd. At first I really thought I hadn't hit play, but then...
Hello. This is Architect speaking.
It seems as if Architect is on some form of phone. Does he already know that Sandy and Cargo are trying to escape? He keeps talking.
I'm sure you know who I am, viewer.
Oh no.
I seriously discourage you from further watching the content on this YouTube channel. Everything you have seen so far is a mere act of fiction.
Wait, how does he know videos are being uploaded? What?
I don't know who is in charge of uploading all of these videos, but I am unable to remove the content from it. This is not what the concept is about. These videos are fabricated, and their only intention is to make you believe them, to make it look like I'm the bad person here. Keep that in mind if you do want to continue watching. Do not believe anything posted here. Farewell.
The video then ends there. Clearly, Architect was trying to throw off anyone who was watching. And if I'm being honest, when watching this, I was shocked. What in the world had I found, and what was I getting myself into? Despite the video being entirely dark with only chat appearing in intervals, it was clear that Architect was far more aware than Sandy. But there was a lot more to break down here, as Architect clearly mentioned how he didn't know who was uploading these videos, meaning that even him, with his authority over the execs, couldn't remove these YouTube videos, but yet was able to upload one. This was extremely confusing, and the only thing I knew how to do was to move on to the next video, titled We Need Help, with a description almost seeming to complete the title with the words, or will they? It felt to me as if whoever was behind these YouTube video uploads was clearly starting to crawl out their shell, their own universe, leaking over and telling us to look at the bigger picture, as when even putting the previous title together, it resulted in an even more interesting sentence.
A message to you. Keep watching. We need help, or will they?
Maybe I was looking far too deep into this, but honestly, there was only one way to find out. The video opens back up in limbo, with a familiar name but not so familiar face, as for the first time ever, we see Sandy from a different perspective, standing by a possessed voyeur with Cargo in what seems to be complete control.
So, this is the limbo.
Limbo?
Yeah.
Cargo continues to pace around, attempting to take everything in, because for Cargo, all he ever knew up until this point was the loop, and so Sandy continues to explain.
The execs use this place to get to other worlds, I think.
But can't they just use teleport?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what they're doing. Come on.
Sandy leads a confused Cargo down a limbo hallway, coming across door 0008389, a portal room that had previously taken Sandy into a completely different world with 2 entirely different players. After being stuck in a loop for so long, it's understandable why Cargo seems hesitant, because everything is new.
You jump in there first, I'll go after.
And after a short moment, with Cargo trusting Sandy, he jumps, landing back in the unusual world where the sky is entirely corrupted.
So what is this place?
My friends are here, just wait a moment. They'll appear just like us. Also teleport down so we don't have to stay up here.
It made sense that Cargo would be able to use such a command, as with possessing Voyeur, it opened up the doors to exec power. Although how Sandy knew of it, let alone became able to do it, I was unsure. But regardless, I kept watching, as the duo waited patiently in front of the odd-colored house.
Just give it a bit.
It's like our house.
Oh, there she is.
Serene Mist is surprised at the appearance of Sandy and Cargo,
Oh, hey.
Hello.
with Sandy skipping the greetings and cutting straight to his question.
Is Zyphoid here?
I don't actually know where he went.
It's clear in even such a dire situation of escape, Sandy does indeed have jokes.
So he pulled a cargo?
Not cool.
But then the chat drops silent, and Serene Mist almost appears to zone out.
But I seriously don't know where Zyphoid is.
At this point, Cargo lets his curiosity win in the midst of conversation, opening the doors to the house and taking a look around. Maybe I'd simply missed this beforehand, but I noticed the stairs were on either sides of the walls, compared to Cargo and Sandy's house that featured the stairs dead center. Did this mean that this world was in fact an inverted or complete opposite to Cargo and Sandy's? Cargo heads towards the stairs.
Also, how are you here?
He stops for a short moment in such a way, almost as if he sensed a new figure outside the window, and to my amazement, there was someone named Sightseer. Cargo stares for a little, before descending further down the stairs, finding himself in the chess room.
Andrew got me back, but we can't really do anything without your help.
Wait, hold on, is Cargo talking to me, or is he talking to himself? This chat message didn't seem to faze or disturb or even appear for Sandy.
You know the execs, right?
In the meantime, Cargo continues wandering around the weird chess room, where it's obvious familiarity and fear are now meeting.
Yeah, I totally know a lot about them. Bro, be serious. You know or not?
While Sandy and Serene Mist continue their conversation, Cargo returns back up the stairs and towards the double doors.
No, I don't have a clue.
It's unclear why Sandy has taken Cargo into this world in the first place, and now even more confusingly, what he was trying to achieve by talking to Serene Mist. Although with the conversation at a standstill, Cargo returns back down to the storage room, this time heading right back for the chest named Blocks for Building, quickly grabbing cobblestone, heading towards the stairs and opening his chat box.
The execs are like these corporate guys who love to control us.
Between Cargo's typing that had yet to be noticed and what I believe to be him talking to himself or directly towards me, Cargo heads out of the door, dropping cobblestone in front of Sandy while he continues to explain.
He hired people called Exec, like Exec 03. Me and Matthew got here through the limbo, which is like a connection between worlds.
At this point, Cargo seemed extremely restless, and with Sightseer still standing in the background, Cargo turns to the hills, almost as if he's debating leaving Sandy behind to investigate. All whilst the confused Serene Mist replies to Sandy's tangent.
I'm so lost, but I'll join you guys, I guess.
Okay, we have to go to the limbo then. Matthew got us some blocks.
Running completely out of patience, Cargo starts building upwards.
What the hell is this for?
Sandy follows Cargo's lead, building upwards and explaining how the invisible platform exists.
There's an invisible platform up there. Just tower up and get onto it. Then, you press the button up there.
And just as Sandy has explained, Cargo hits the button, ending the video right there, and leaving me with all sorts of questions. Like, where had Xiphoid gone to? Had he been taken away? In an effort to avoid him gaining awareness too, in the same way Cargo and Sandy had been separated. This was a possibility, as back in part 1, Exec09 had already noticed on his terminal that this other duo had become thinking minds. With Serene Mist appearing to have broken the loop, none of this was a long shot. But why, when, and how would Sandy ever need her for his escape? Hopefully this next video, titled Lifeless, would answer my wonders. But before we find out the rest of Sandy's plan, if you're enjoying this video, please subscribe, as I'm still trying to reach my goal of 800,855 subscribers by the end of the year. You know, for no reason in particular. Now let's find out where this next video brings us. The video opens up with the trio in limbo, where Cargo looks around before Sandy.
Oh, what the heck?
What the hell?
Huh?
Like Cargo, I was confused. What were they reacting to?
What?
Your name.
Cargo, your name and skin has changed.
That's... wow.
Despite both Sandy and Serene Mist saying this, I had yet to see what Cargo now looked like. But what was instantly noticeable was his name had now returned to Cargo after being Voyeur in the previous video.
That looks kinda badass.
Yeah, I am badass.
Sandy looks at him in silence, and possibly even disappointment, because if there was any way to signify parts of Cargo's consciousness returning or that the small part of Cargo was growing, the jokes and confidence were definitely a teller. And then for the first time, Serene Mist reveals what Cargo looks like.
Your skin is like half you and half Voyeur.
Confirming what I had guessed to be somewhat true, that Cargo was slowly reclaiming his body. With this in mind, I continued to watch, as the trio headed down the limbo hallway with Cargo asking,
Now what?
Before Sandy with a plan replies,
Alright, come on guys, let's go to the unstable world.
Cargo looks up at the experiment sign, almost as if he was making a mental note of the numbers, before quickly following behind Sandy.
I have something to show you. I think it's over here.
Cargo continues looking at each door, observing every experiment sign as they walk down the endless purple-toned hallways, patiently following Sandy as he walks them to the correct door. Once arriving, Cargo stares at the unstable world's experimental number, and it's here that I realized something I had completely missed out on. See, after playing around with the numbers on the board and taking time separating them, I found when putting them through a letter number decoder, it gave me the word lifeless. I wondered if this meant that the unstable world was unable to contain life, and that this was the reason Sandy and Cargo were moved to a different world. I kept watching.
Yep, go in.
And as Cargo quickly approached the portal, he jumps, finding himself at the very bottom of the original mine.
Hurry up.
I'm coming.
As Cargo rushes his way up and surfaces from the mine, it's clear the unstable world was much more unstable than before, still appearing to corrupt in real time, with Cargo seeming to be in total shock, taking a moment to, well, take everything in.
Finally.
As they walk up towards the unstable and corrupted house, Cargo recognizes the spectator at a distance, placed in an entirely different spot. As the trio gets closer to the house, they realize the doors are missing.
Whoa, what the heck?
Oh,
What's up with this place?
With Sandy preoccupied with the house, Serene Mist points the spectator out to Sandy.
there's a camera here, Sandy.
The three friends get a closer look, approaching carefully yet suddenly.
Oh what? Spectator. Interesting.
You think that means something?
Probably, but it doesn't matter right now.
Sandy clearly doesn't care, heading back into the house with both Cargo and Serene Mist following.
Look at the house though, what the heck?
And as Cargo enters the house, we get a better look at how truly unstable this world was becoming, with the house missing blocks and becoming entirely patchy.
Is it not meant to be like that?
As they walk down the stairs, Sandy replies back.
No, it was like perfectly fine before.
It was evident the house was really deteriorating, so much so that even for me, this was looking awfully different. And by comparing it to the other times we had found ourselves in the unstable world, it was dead obvious. And yet Sandy continued to walk, which at this point I realized he was leading his two friends towards the books. The very same books we had read in part 1, explaining the entire backstory of how they landed in this simulation in the first place. But how unstable this world really was about to get worse. As Sandy reaches another set of stairs that looked so unstable and corrupted that they were unrecognizable. But yet Sandy takes a right, going down a smaller path and walking into the room where he had originally found the books. However, this time he arrived at nothing, leaving Sandy completely lost.
What?
Serene Mist and Cargo are out of the loop, with Cargo asking,
What are you looking for, exactly?
The group stands in a moment of silence, before Sandy replies,
Your diaries, Matthew, they were right here in a chest, but they're gone.
Sandy, now clearly mad, leaves the room.
Whatever, let's get out of here.
As they head back up the stairs, it's clear for Sandy, confusion and disappointment have just met. Then suddenly,
Hey, friends.
Thomas?
Wait, what?
the silence is now louder than ever.
What are you doing here?
I'm only here to report on the world's status. I can't be here long. Yeah. I burned the diaries.
Why?
Whatever. You know the limbo, right?
Cargo interrupts.
Yes.
By the way Execo 5 was talking, I could sense that something might have gone wrong up in Limbo.
Weren't we just there?
Yes, but you need to go back.
This to me felt like a trap.
There's something for you. If you jump into the void,
Is this like one of your super secret escape routes?
you'll appear in a different place, but it's odd. No, it's simply a backdoor arch added in case you fell
A
down.
backdoor arch? Huh? What? This sounded all sorts of bizarre. Sandy pushes for an answer on his previous question.
Why did you burn the diaries though? I needed those.
Andrew T, that is not important right now.
Execo 5 seems to start losing his patience with Sandy's persistent questioning.
Okay, can we hurry?
Execo 5 continues his explanation.
Once you get back, you'll get to see them yourself.
It wasn't hard to imagine Sandy being so thrown off by such an answer, and honestly, I was even having a hard time judging where this was about to go. Execo 5 then replies to Serene Mist.
You probably should. You were caught on Spectator and Sightseer. The other execs know you're here. In fact, I'll help you guys out just a little.
Suddenly, Cargo's friends start disappearing, and then so does Cargo. Only cutting back in as the trio land back in Limbo,
Wait up.
Oh, my bad.
where Sandy almost seems surprised that Cargo was teleported with them, but Cargo continues to follow, heading towards the void as Execo 5 had instructed.
So, who is going first?
Walking to the edge, and with a short moment to discuss who was to jump first,
Really?
Cargo is hit off the edge. The sound of water can be heard, and the video ends right here. Now with everything I had seen so far, I started theorizing about what Execo 5 meant by the backdoor arch. Where did this door lead to? Where exactly was it? Had Cargo, Sandy and Serene Mist jumped towards it? Or had they been completely tricked and trapped? It all felt like something that would surely answer itself with time. But how Execo 5 claimed the burnt books were to be seen again felt like an impossible statement. Either way, more now than ever, it felt like this next video had a lot to reveal, with the German title translating to Abyss. with an even weirder German description translating to,
"The frog that thinks, be cheerful, you'll come down soon."
I couldn't help but pick up the strange correlation between the description and what Cargo had done in the previous video's ending, because if the frog is Cargo, happy at a joke Sandy had made, and coming down from the sky and landing in water, tell me if I'm reaching here, all lines up a little too perfectly. The video opens up in pure darkness, okay? Nothing exactly out of the ordinary, but things that I've never seen before are definitely present, with the crosshair looking like some form of star. It's unclear whose perspective I'm watching from, but as they look down from what is supposedly limbo and turn to Serene Mist and Sandy, it wasn't hard to figure out that I was watching from the perspective of Cargo. However, the different crosshair definitely threw me off, but it wasn't the only thing that caught me off guard. If you look carefully, there's something in this clip you've definitely missed. Here, let me brighten the video a little bit. Do you see it? Because I only spotted it by going frame by frame, replaying the opening scene and spotting that out there in the distance can be seen a white figure. I have no idea who it could be, but Sandy, Cargo and Serene Mist group up and get moving, following Sandy almost as if he knows where he's going, wandering through the darkness to some form of dead-end structure, forcing the group to explore further, eventually coming across yet another strange structure with no sign of life. I wondered if Execo 5 had tricked and misled the group, as at the moment it definitely came across that way. Until suddenly, the video cut to darkness, coming back in again to the perspective of Sandy, carrying the exact same crosshair as Cargo. It's safe to assume down here the crosshair has changed for everyone. Maybe there's something about leaving limbo and distancing away from the simulation that alters their perspective.
We have been walking for so long. This place freaks me out.
Don't worry, we will find it eventually. He wouldn't just send us here to die.
You're right.
Sandy notices another building in the distance,
Let's head into that building.
suggesting to head over there, and with a slight pause of uncertainty, the others begin to follow Sandy anyway. I decided at this point to fast forward the video a little, to the point where Sandy reaches the weird castle-like structure, and Cargo and Serene Mist have caught up. It's here Sandy finds a mysteriously dark doorway. Could this be the escape that Execo 5 was talking about?
Do I go in?
Sandy was definitely curious, yet cautious, and by asking Serene Mist and Cargo whether he should actually step foot through the doorway, Cargo hopelessly answers back.
It probably doesn't lead anywhere.
It's worth a shot.
And so with Sandy mustering the courage and walking right in, he faces darkness until he turns around and the unexpected appears. Sitting in the darkness lies his house, perfectly lit up with not a single thing surrounding it. And then Sandy speaks.
Are you serious?
The video ends there, with the place Sandy had just discovered obviously being set up by Exec 05. It made sense why 05 would place it in such a creepy and dark place, although whether this was the way to escape or just a safe house, I was clueless. However, one thing I truly questioned was how safe it really was, because if the weird white figure we had previously seen was potentially following them and dangerous, I wondered how far the group would get in their escape. And so with my speculation and the next video titled Loss of Control, I could only hope it would answer more questions. The video fades in to what seems like the same or similar star-like icon that is featured as a crosshair on both Sandy and Cargo's perspective. The camera unexpectedly swings, revealing what seems to be a room similar to where the architect had previously used his terminal.
The Abyss? No, of course not.
At first, it's hard to figure out off one sentence what exactly these execs were talking about, or if they were even execs at this point, but rather bosses in charge of the simulations and the test subjects inside of them. As with the names Creator, Shaper, and Instigator all featuring unique patterns on their face and the chairs they were sitting on, the camera suddenly cuts to a different angle.
Well, I don't see any other possibilities.
Showing much more than I had ever expected, because these blue men weren't alone, and this blue-skied arena, office, or headquarters, whatever this was only the half of it, as a red side to this HQ with 3 red bosses named Originator, Inventor, and Author also seemed to be in the midst of discussion, along with a 4th blue boss called Founder and an empty chair on the red side. As the video continues to play, Architect arrives, filling that one empty red chair.
You took your time.
Indeed, I did.
A moment of silence and almost awkwardness passes before Creator speaks.
She wanted us to meet. Anomalies were located in your quadrant, Architect.
I am fully aware of the anomalies present. They're being taken care of.
So much for taking care of your quadrant. It's Sandy, right?
It seemed like the bosses on the red side were a lot more tense, making it hard for me to judge if there was any form of hierarchy between them. Either way, I was intrigued.
Correct.
You don't seem to be as aware as we'd hope.
It was here I realized the opening symbol at the start of the video was Architect's chair symbol, and with the dots connecting, it all started making sense. Considering Sandy, Cargo, and Serene Mist were all in Architect's quadrant.
Signals. I received them from the Abyss.
The Abyss, you say?
Precisely. The vessel you call Sandy along with Cargo and Serenimist. All three were caught by one of our execs, the Outcast.
Could Founder be talking about Execo 5? Or was he talking perhaps about the mysterious white figure? Architect starts talking.
That's besides the point. The Abyss is a barren wasteland. There's nothing they can do.
Instigator for the first time cuts Architect off.
That's where you're wrong. According to recent data, Sandy has been separated from the other two vessels.
Wait, what? Last video they were all together. Did he mean by separation he means the house?
Where did he go?
Grenzen.
And you think that's supposed to help them?
The point is that they're getting closer. What do you think happens when they reach the last layer?
Wait, what? Last layer? Watching this, the questions were just building up, and with Architect having nothing to say, it remains quiet until Author decides to speak up.
If you don't send your workers to capture them, then well, I'm sure you can figure that last part out. Don't make us have to interfere is what I'm trying to say.
And then the camera angle changes again, getting a close-up on Architect. Architect, clearly sick of the anger being thrown at him, replies,
"I'll get them."
Only for the screen to go dark yet again. Now, before I continued watching this video, I had a bunch of things from this that I wanted to figure out. Like when creator said,
She wanted us to meet. Anomalies were located in your quadrant, Architect.
it was safe to assume that whoever she was someone much higher up and more powerful than the bosses, and that it was her who was in fact giving the real orders. But that's not all this sentence gave me, as creator mentioned quadrants, meaning that each of these bosses have their very own simulation experiments that they're in charge of looking over, and that the amount of execs working for them in total could be well into the hundreds. Along with this new information, I found interesting how they mentioned an outcast. I wasn't entirely sure if they were referring to knowing that Execo 5 was working secretly with Sandy, or maybe, just maybe, they were referring to the disturbing white figure in Abgrund. Either way, my speculation didn't end here, because the use of the German word Grenzen, when translated, came out as boundaries. And with the term being used when explaining where the trio had jumped to me, it felt like Sandy, Cargo, and Serene Mist were between the simulation and the real world. Hence why the creator also mentioned the last layer. With all my theories out of the way, I got back to the video, with it bringing me right back to Sandy, standing in the copy of his house in the middle of a completely different dimension. It's not hard to imagine how overwhelmed Sandy must feel, with the same house that he'd seen over and over again in each and every different loop being found in this weird dimension too. Execo 5 clearly had a thing for plain rooms, as when he revealed everything in the last video, the room was completely white with just a table, and here, everything was completely pitch black. After a short moment of looking around and gathering his bearings, Sandy briefly leaves the house, before returning and hesitating, yet still heading down the stairs, finding himself in a much darker storage room compared to anything before, yet chests and furnaces are able to be seen. It's clear that Sandy is wary, inching further and further around the corner, almost as if he senses that something really isn't right here, and after a short moment, he backs out, running back up the stairs like a kid who had just turned off the downstairs light, and as he reaches the top, the darkness outside has completely changed, with what looks like through the window, some sort of brick house. What in the world was going on here? Sandy gets closer to the window, revealing a castle, but not any castle, as I realized pretty quickly that this was the castle Sandy, Cargo, and Execo 5 were planning to build within one of his memories. And after a moment of pure shock that Sandy gets over, he opens the door, heading towards the homemade fortress, taking a moment to look back before making his final decision to move to this distant memory. And as he passes the stone brick doorway, he notices bookshelves, an enchanting table, but most importantly, lilacs. Now, after uploading my previous video, I realized that lilacs were truly scattered everywhere. From paintings to where the invisible limbo door existed, lilacs were definitely a major clue or important for something much bigger. Nevertheless, I watched as Sandy kept walking up to the enchanting table, jumping, noticing a stairwell hidden behind a set of bookshelves. Sandy, visibly unsure how to access them, he begins looking around, gathering a feel for his previously built fortress, or seemingly looking for something that I can't quite put a finger on. Maybe a button, maybe the escape route. He keeps walking, eventually realizing that the stairs behind the bookshelves weren't hidden, just built behind. And suddenly, as he reaches the roof of his memory castle, music begins to play.
This place is screwed.
It seems he's trying to talk to Execo 5, yet no one replies.
Get me out of here.
Sandy, very clearly freaked out, rushes back down the stairs, making sure to look behind him and beginning to circle around the entire castle. For what reason? I had no idea, yet this still seemed like he was looking for someone. And then I was proven wrong. Sandy was looking for the escape route, and he'd found it, a small trap door with Sandy opening it without hesitation and climbing down the ladder. A very, very long ladder.
Where is it?
Suddenly, more and more pieces of the ladder start to go missing, and Sandy is shouting more than ever.
Thomas.
The ladder gets patchier. Has Execo5 or Thomas truly betrayed his friends?
I thought you were helping me.
Sandy calls for his friend yet again.
Thomas.
The screen goes dark. Is Sandy okay? I still didn't know where the ladder led to, and Cargo and Serene Mist, were they still waiting outside? This video had left me on another cliffhanger, rushing me to the next video titled Answers. Was I finally about to get some? The description contained an almost cryptic diary entry, reading,
"Crossing the boundaries of the abyss. I mean, that's what he said, right? Would he really betray you, your best friend?"
The video opens in pure darkness, but after quickly brightening the video ever so slightly, we can see Serene Mist waiting outside of the arch door with Cargo.
We've been waiting for so long. Is this thing infinite?
I don't know, but I wouldn't walk in there if I were you. It's been hours since he went in.
I don't think he's coming back.
With the duo admitting that they had been waiting with hours flying past, it was understandable that they weren't so optimistic about Sandy's return. And with this shared mindset, the new duo head for the exit, where almost immediately a white character can again be seen in the distance, only this time featuring a blurry name tag, yet Cargo doesn't notice.
Now that I think about it, where did Xiphoid go?
It's slightly strange how it took this long for Serene Mist to question Xiphoid's whereabouts. Regardless, she keeps talking.
Sandy said something about you disappearing in a similar way.
To be completely honest, it felt like nothing happened while I was gone, kind of as if I didn't even exist during that time span.
That's so weird.
Then Serene Mist is thrown off.
What the hell? Who is that?
The white figure I had noticed in the previous video and a little earlier on was approaching fast.
Hey there!
We should probably get out of here.
You don't have to. I don't work with them.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what did this Exec 111 truly mean? Was this who the bosses were talking about? This newly appeared exec continues talking.
Well, not anymore at least.
It's so hard to take you seriously when you're this bright a figure in this dark place.
Whatever. Listen, I'm assuming you're lost down here, right?
Do you know Thomas, sire?
Wait, hold on. Am I missing something? Why is Cargo calling him sire? This is only getting weirder.
What I mean is you don't need the formalities.
I'll take that as a yes. I've been down here for quite a while. We are currently in Abergrund. Well, Abgrund of the Abyss.
Wait, don't those just mean the same thing? Serene Mist beats me to it.
Don't those mean the same thing?
Correct.
And then Exec 111 gives a piece of knowledge I wouldn't have guessed.
Abgrund, as you can probably tell, imitates the bottom of the ocean.
With Cargo taking a look around, it suddenly adds up. However, Exec 111 continues to go on.
The Abyss is a layered network. It's beneath the entirety of the concept.
This made sense considering we just fell from limbo. Exec 111 then goes on to assume that both Serene Mist and Cargo were tired of dialogue, with Cargo confirming,
"How did you know?"
Let's just say we are quite talkative.
Wait, hold on. What does he mean by we? As in Cargo and Serene Mist, or was the other white character I'd previously seen in the distance been another exec? Exec 111 goes on to ask the duo what their goal is in Abgrund, with Cargo and Serene Mist explaining how Execo 5 had told them to come down here, and that one of their friends, being Sandy, had guided them towards the weird door and simply vanished. Exec 111 replies fairly quickly.
He might have gone into Grenzen.
Almost as if Cargo and Serene Mist were supposed to know what that was.
And that is?
The next layer of this network. It can be accessed in a multitude of ways. However, the path your friend just took is incredibly risky.
Cargo and Serene Mist quickly ask Exec 111 if he knew any other way to find Sandy, only for him to reply that indeed, yes he did. But there was a catch.
I do, however this place is massive. So unless you don't mind walking for a while, you see that flat area?
Yeah.
So it's a long walk, but if you just walk through the flats, you'll eventually end up at the main location.
The main location? I thought this place was entirely deserted. What did this place even look like? I kept watching.
Well, main location. It's just a wasteland, like the rest of Abgrund. You'll know when you get there if you see a bunch of towers scattered around. And yeah, it'll still be flat. We are on the opposite side of the highlands.
Okay, so now I've learned that there are more places than just the concept, the limbo, the architect's HQ, the boss's conference room, Abgrund, Grenzen, and now the Highlands. Cargo continues asking important questions as he prepares himself for what seems like his next journey.
Is there anything we should look out for?
With Exec 111 not having much to say apart from,
It's honestly a really calming place, if you just take the time to look around.
Serene Mist cuts off the Exec.
Slight issue, though.
Cargo looks over at Serene Mist.
It's like almost pitch black down here. How are we supposed to see anything?
As Serene Mist continues talking, Cargo looks back at the building, almost as if he was contemplating whether taking the risky road to Sandy would be exactly worth it.
For you, right now, there's nothing we can do. You'll just have to trust your senses.
Serene Mist was clearly dissatisfied with Exec 111's answer, so much so that the Exec wraps up the conversation.
You can leave now. I've explained everything I can.
With Cargo chipping in,
Thank you.
and without looking back to see if Serene Mist was even following, Cargo heads for the flat area ahead, and the video fades entirely to black. At this point, I was out of theory. Clearly the main objective was finding where Sandy had disappeared to. Had he been betrayed and misled by Exec 05, or was this leading up to something much bigger than I could anticipate? I moved on to the next video, which was much shorter, titled Grenzen, with a description that appeared to have some sort of German poem that when translated came out as,
The flies are flying, a fun dancing experience. Be sad at night, the time will soon come. We have peace there. Our little crosses are standing on the bright side of the road for two, and it's raining and snowing, and the winds come and go.
Now, I didn't want to get too deep into analysing this German poem, but I did have a couple notes, as when the poem wrote,
The time will soon come. Our little crosses are standing.
I wondered if it was potentially foreshadowing Sandy's death. Was he lost forever? With the following lines also reading,
On the bright side of the road for two.
Did this mean after Sandy's death, Cargo and Serene Mist would be the only ones remaining? This poem clearly had multiple ways to be interpreted. But if Sandy was actually dead, hopefully this next video would contain the answers as to why. I hit play. The short video finds us with Cargo and Serene Mist wandering and walking through the flat Abgrund, where they stop to mention how right Exec 111 truly was, in claiming how calming it was to walk in this area.
This place is calming. It's a bit unnerving though.
I agree.
The duo continue walking until the screen goes dark and comes back into what I can only predict is later in time, where the pair have walked even further.
Are we even going the right way?
I hope so.
As they keep on moving, things in the distance start to appear, with Serene Mist voicing how
This place is starting to bother me though.
and with Cargo finally expressing how he thinks this is it, that they'd arrived.
Coincidentally, I think this is it.
And in the distance, two tower-looking structures begin rendering in, with the one on the right appearing to have some sort of light.
There are towers, so we just have to find the right one.
The duo then do one thing I wouldn't have recommended. They split up.
Alright, I'll go this way.
This seemed like an awful idea, but I kept watching only for the tower Cargo was approaching to get bigger and bigger.
There's a really big one over there.
Cargo starts climbing up one of the towers. He approaches the edge, staring at the massive tower ahead, and curiosity clearly builds.
There's nothing up here.
There's nothing here either.
Cargo and Serene Mist quickly group back up together, ready to investigate the massive tower.
It's way different.
It's so bright, I'm not used to that.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Running through the entrance, the duo come across a hole that I couldn't really notice.
There's a hole inside.
Until they got closer. The pair looked confused. Clearly, Cargo and Serene Mist were hesitant, looking down and to my best guess, contemplating whether to jump or not.
From what I saw, there's no staircase outside, so this has to be the only way. I'm scared, I don't know if this is safe.
And yet with Serene Mist being nervous, Cargo insists.
It has to be. Exec 111 told us it was. It's the only different tower.
With Serene Mist finally caving in.
We should go in at the same time, or whatever happened to Sandy could happen to one of us.
You're right, do a countdown.
And before I knew it, the countdown was finished, and the duo had jumped into the unknown. The video of course ended right there, with it taking me a short moment to even realize and clicking off in awe. Where had everyone gone to? Where was this about to go? Was this the end? I had no idea, but 2 days after finishing up this video, it happened again.